I used to love the ocean. My wife and I would visit a different beach town every year, small places, quiet. The kind of towns where you could turn your phone off and forget the rest of the world existed. 2 summers ago, we booked a week at a little rental cabin in a coastal village in North Carolina. It wasn't touristy. No boardwalk, no arcades, just a long empty shoreline and a string of lonely houses tucked behind the dunes. That's where I saw it. The sand doll. The first time I noticed it was early morning. I get up before dawn out of habit. Military background. I'd gone out for a walk while my wife slept in, and there it was. A little figure, sitting perfectly upright in the sand just beyond the tide line. It was shaped like a person, tiny arms, round head, sea glass pushed in where the eyes should be, even shells on the sides, like earrings. I figured some local kid had made it the day before. But what caught me off guard was how perfect it looked. No footprints around it, not even mine. The sand was completely untouched. The next morning, it was there again. Same spot, same shape. But this time, it was slightly different. The arms were raised, the eyes were gone, and wrapped around its torso was a strand of hair, human hair. That day, I stopped by the bait shop down the road, just to ask if any local kids made sand sculptures like that. The old man behind the counter gave me this strange look. Didn't laugh, didn't blink. He said,
"No one lets their kids play on that beach, not after what happened."
I asked, "What happened?" He paused, then said, real quiet,
"The tide doesn't take things from that stretch. It leaves things behind."
That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the doll, how perfect it was, how it changed. So, I went back out, just after midnight. The beach was empty, silent, like the world was holding its breath. But the doll was gone. I turned to head back to the cabin. That's when I heard it. A sound, behind me, a soft, squelching noise, like wet feet pressing into dry sand. I turned around. It wasn't the doll. It was a shape, small, human-like, crouched low near the shoreline, just barely visible in the moonlight. When I stepped toward it, it scrambled backward, fast, the way a spider moves when it knows you've seen it. And then, it vanished, right behind the dune. The next morning, there were 2 dolls. Both had sea glass eyes. Both had strands of hair tied around their necks. One of them had something pressed into its chest, a ring, a wedding ring. I ran back inside. My wife was still sleeping, but her hair was wet, soaking wet. She swore she hadn't gone outside, hadn't even showered yet. That was the first day. I felt like we shouldn't be there anymore. By day 5, there were 7 dolls, lined up along the sand. Each one was different, taller, more detailed. One had a red stain beneath its head. Another was missing its arms. That night, I finally heard it. It's time to play. I ran outside, looked up and down the shoreline. Nothing, no wind, no movement. But when I turned to come back in, there was a doll, sitting on our porch. Its face was carved, like it was screaming. We left the next morning. Didn't even pack properly. We just drove. I've never gone back. Never looked up the town's name again. But every now and then, I wake up with sand in the bed. And last week, I found something tucked behind the wheel of my car. A tiny figure, made of dirt and beach grass. Its eyes were sea glass. Some things don't wash away. They just follow you home. Some places don't want to be visited. Some beaches don't like to be forgotten. I grew up near the water. My parents owned a tiny beach house in Maine, old wood siding, no AC, a busted porch my dad always said he'd fix. When I turned 27, I went back to it, alone, for the first time in over a decade, just to clear my head. I needed time away from people, away from everything. The place hadn't changed much, but the beach behind it, that's where I noticed something weird, something that made me question whether I was ever really alone. It started on my second morning there. I'd gone out early, just after dawn. The air was heavy, still. No gulls, no waves, just silence. And then I saw them. Footprints. In the dunes. Not mine, not animal, bare feet. Small like a kid's. Walking in a straight line, toward the water. What stopped me cold was there were no return prints. Just one set. Walking out. Nothing walking back. The beach was empty. I looked all around. No houses within 100 yards. And besides, the tide would have wiped out anything older than a few hours. Someone, or something, had walked to the ocean before sunrise, and never came back. I told myself it was nothing, a neighbor, maybe an early swim, whatever. But the next day, they were back. Same size, same path, straight from the dunes to the waterline. Still, no return prints. I followed them this time. Counted 47 steps until they just stopped. The final footprint sank deeper, toes curled, like the person. Jumped, but the water was dead still. Not a ripple, no splash, no sign anyone had ever been there. And the weirdest part? My own footprints, beside theirs, were the only other ones on the beach. I tried calling the local station that night, asked if anyone had reported a missing kid or swimmer in the area. They transferred me to some old sheriff. He laughed a little and said, "You're staying on Drift Hollow Beach, right?" I paused, said yeah. He went silent for a second, then said, "Let me guess, footprints. Always going toward the ocean, never away from it." I froze. I asked him how he knew. All he said was, "You're not the first one to see them. Just don't try to follow them. After dark." Then he hung up. I kept looking through the window at the dunes, watching, waiting. Around 2 a.m., I saw movement, not a shape, not a figure, just footprints, appearing, one by one, right in the middle of the sand, as if someone was walking, invisible. They stopped about halfway to the water, and just stood there. I swear, I could feel someone watching me, even though I couldn't see them. And then, they vanished. The prints just stopped being made, mid-stride, like the thing walking had floated off. Next morning, same trail, same prints, only this time, there was a second set, larger, parallel, following the first just a few feet behind. I followed them, fast, didn't care anymore. I just had to see where they ended. They both ended at the edge of the water, but the second set, they faced the other way, like someone had carried the first person into the ocean. No drag marks, no struggle, just two people. One vanished, one walked back. Except that wasn't possible. There were no return prints. None at all. On my last night, I stayed up again, lights off, eyes on the dunes. I saw them, two shadows, barely more than silhouettes. One crouched by the edge of the water, the other, taller, standing still, facing my cabin. I closed the curtain, hid behind the door, and still, I heard it. Footsteps, soft, wet, crunching the sand just outside. Then the wooden step of the porch. Then, nothing. I left before sunrise. Didn't look back. Didn't say goodbye. I haven't gone back, and I don't think I ever will. Sometimes I dream of that beach, of the footprints, and in the dream, I never wake up before the final step, the one that doesn't come back. I live on the edge of a coastal inlet in the Northeast. It's not a town. Not really, more like a place people forget exists, unless they're already from here. I've got a simple life. Small cottage, no neighbors for about a mile. Closest grocery store's 45 minutes away. But I like it that way. I fix things, patch nets, haul crab pots for extra cash. And most mornings, I take my coffee out to the dock and just watch. That's where I saw the boat. It was early, barely 6 a.m. The fog was still thick enough to make the water look like glass. And then, right in the middle of it, this boat. Small, wooden, no motor, no name, just sitting there, like it had always been there. I thought maybe a local kid left it, but nobody owns a boat like that around here. Too old, too beat up. And it wasn't tied to anything. It just sat, perfectly still, like the tide didn't touch it. Next morning, same time, same spot, same boat. By day 3, I noticed something new. Inside the boat was a black trash bag, tied shut. The kind people throw in a river when they want to hide something. I grabbed my binoculars, looked again. Next to the bag, a coat. Old, olive green, torn at the shoulder. Exactly like the one my father used to wear, before he drowned. Except that coat was buried with him. Or so I thought. My father died in that water, 19 years ago to the day, April 14th. Everyone called it a freak boating accident, but he never owned a boat, never swam, hated the water. He disappeared one morning, and they found him the next. Bloated, pale, hooked to the side of someone else's dock. And here I was, looking at a boat that didn't belong to anyone, carrying a black bag, and his coat. I started checking tide charts, recording the dock at dawn, comparing the boat's position. Every day, it was closer. By day 7, it was touching the dock. I woke up early, didn't make coffee, didn't look around, just went straight to the dock with a flashlight. The boat was there, but it wasn't empty. Someone was sitting in it, back turned, still as stone. A woman, pale arms, black soaked hair, hands folded on her lap. She didn't look up, but next to her was a crate. Inside it, a lantern, a notebook, and a small wooden carving of a boat with my name etched underneath. I opened the notebook, dozens of pages, dates, coordinates, all logged in my father's handwriting. The last entry read, "Leave the light, take the boat. When it returns, so will she." My hand started shaking. I looked at the woman again. Her head turned, just slightly, not enough to see her face, but enough to know she was watching me. I didn't get in. I left the lantern, turned around, went back inside. But the next morning, the dock was gone. The boat was gone. And the house I'd lived in my entire life, the windows were boarded. The inside was dust, rotten, abandoned. I don't know if I ever made it off the dock, or if I left something behind. That got in anyway. Now when I dream, I'm not looking at the boat. I'm sitting in it, watching someone else come down the path, lantern in hand. When it returns, so will she. There's a beach in Delaware that no one talks about anymore. It doesn't show up on Google Maps. It's not fenced off, not posted, not guarded. You can technically walk right onto it, but nobody does. Because of what's written there. Not graffiti, not carvings. Messages. Etched into the sand, every single morning. Always the same line. Always in a different spot. Leave now. I didn't go there looking for ghost stories. I was working on a freelance photography project called Forgotten Coastlines. The kind of places that look like they're holding their breath. Beaches with no footprints, no music, no screaming kids. I stumbled onto that strip by accident. It had no name. Just a stretch of pale dunes behind a crumbling dune fence. I thought I'd found something rare, pure, unspoiled. And on my second day there, I saw it. The words, written in neat, straight lines across the damp, early morning sand. Leave now. I thought it was a prank, or a warning to trespassers. I even photographed it, twice. That night, both photos were corrupted. Files damaged, just static and blur. I came back the next morning, same beach, different spot, same message. Leave now. But here's what stopped me. It wasn't just in one place. There were two messages. One near the shore, another up by the dunes. Same words, same style, same lettering, like someone used a ruler made of wind. And still, no footprints, no tire tracks, no indentations, nothing. The sand looked reset, like someone had laid a fresh layer over everything and wrote from underneath. I checked for animal prints, checked the wind, even left flour around the trail entrance. Next morning, two messages again. My flower ring was untouched. That night, I parked nearby with binoculars, waited from inside the car, didn't move for hours. No one came, but just before midnight, I saw a dark shape rise in the sand, like it was exhaling, and when I blinked, the message was already written. The next day, I talked to a guy named Rich. He runs the ice delivery boat at the nearby marina, retired Navy. When I asked him about that beach, he didn't laugh. He just said, "You saw the writing, huh?" I nodded. He told me his brother used to work for state parks back in the 80s, patrolled that exact stretch, once a week. Said every time it rained, new names would appear in the sand. Not threats, not warnings, names. Always people who had died that same day. Sometimes, just hours earlier. Car accidents, house fires, a drowning 3 counties over. One time, it spelled his own name. He quit that week. But here's the part that stayed with me. Rich leaned in and said, "The beach doesn't warn everybody, only the ones who stay too long, the ones who already left something behind." He didn't elaborate, but that line's echoed in my head ever since. Only the ones who already left something behind. I went back the next night. Not because I was curious anymore, but because I started feeling like something was watching me, even when I was home, 3 towns away. I'd find sand in shoes I hadn't worn in days. My kitchen clock stopped every morning at 3:12 a.m. I started hearing wind inside my walls. So I drove back. I reached the beach. It was dead calm. No tide, no wind. The stars overhead weren't even twinkling, like the air had frozen. And then I saw it. The sand in front of me was moving, not blowing, shifting, like something was swimming just beneath the surface. And as it moved, the message appeared. Too late. The grains didn't fall or slide. They rose, rising into letters like the earth was being written by memory. Then I heard it. A sound I'll never forget. Breathing from under the beach. I turned to leave, but the dune path was gone, wiped away. And standing at the edge of where it had been was a woman, I think. Her body was soaked, seaweed clinging to her arms. Her fingers dragged low, too low. Her head was tilted, chin tucked to chest. But she was walking, slowly, in a straight line, toward me. I stepped back, but the sand gave way under my feet, like it didn't want me to run. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. And then, she looked up. Her eyes weren't glowing. They were absent, just dark pits, sinking inward, like the sea had hollowed her out. She opened her mouth and said, "Nothing. Not silence. Nothing." The kind of void that makes your ears ring, that makes your whole body want to disappear. And then, she began to sink, right there, straight down into the sand. No splash, no collapse, just vanishing. Like a memory, being erased in reverse.